being consistent is like you've made a verbal contract with your audience. You've made a verbal contract with your followers or subscribers. Tell them what this frequency is going to be. I'm going to post every other Sunday. All right. You've told them that. So post every other Sunday. That's the version of being consistent. All right. I'm going to do a live show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Okay. Tell us what you're going to talk about. Because see, consistency means here are my next 4 live shows. Because that's the accountability hack to being consistent. Here's a flyer with my next 4 guests. I do that every single month. I put out a flyer with the 4 guests, not for advertising purposes, but to let my community know that there's at least 4 more shows coming at a minimum. That is that verbal contract you have with your audience, being consistent.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. Today, we get to speak with expert live stream coach and accomplished content creator Kirk Nugent, who has reinvented how small businesses, entrepreneurs, and faith-based entities reach the world. Whether he's engaged in one-on-one training to help those who seek to grow their business, or he's captivating audiences through Amazon and CNN with his expertise as a product ambassador, Kirk's goal is to help organizations leverage innovation. As a host and producer of the show How It All Works, he believes that corporations, no matter their size, should stop selling, start streaming, and let the clients come to you. Let's jump into this episode as we speak with Kirk Nugent. Kirk, thanks for coming on to the podcast, my friend.
Man, it's a privilege and honor to be here, man. Really.
Absolutely. The honor is all mine, man. I'm so honored to have you on the show. We met in person a couple of months back at Social Media Marketing World.
That's right.
And we've been connected for a good number of years, and we just haven't got the opportunity to, come on this side of the conversation.
That is so true. And this is what I love about in person is that it kind of online is great. And I always want to hasten to add that thing in there that you can actually make real relationships online.
Yeah.
But there's something about in person that accelerates that process.
It does.
So now we have stories to share together. I won't share them here, but we had to go get COVID tests in the middle of the night one.
I know, right?
But I mean, so now we have that common bond, and so that'll be a story that we can laugh and joke about
exactly
forever. And so, yeah, I love that kind of thing, and I'm excited again to be on this platform. I love what you're doing in this space.
Thanks so much. And you're right on the dot. When we were meeting in person for an extended period of time, 3-4 days, you accelerate.
Mm-hmm.
But online, I've been meeting with a lot of people, and during the pandemic, I've met a ton of people and spent a lot of hours together in Zoom rooms and talking about different things. And I got to meet them last week, like this past weekend, in person.
Wow.
And what's beautiful is that we had that foundation built
Yeah.
Now that foundation solidified even more. I'm like,
More.
whoa, you're the same person that I met online.
That's right. That's right. That is so good. That is so good. And this is where, so many people that I work with, where we have that conversation around, yeah, but I mean, online, I'm tired of online, or online isn't, it's not as authentic. People can really be fake. And so I'm always mindful that that is a possibility,
Hmm.
but I feel very blessed to know that in the space that I'm in, a lot of the creators that I've met, people that I've done collabs with, people like you, Doc, and several others, they are the same person that you meet and you
Yeah.
joke and talk and laugh with online. They are that same person in person. In fact, only more so, because
Yes.
there's so much communication that's nonverbal. So when you are in the same place together, you can actually see that body language, you can see certain things, and
Yeah.
you just kind of learn that person even more. So
Yeah.
good stuff, man.
It's
Great
absolutely
stuff.
an amazing stuff. So, um, talking about online space and being able to create content, and we have so many opportunities, we have so many routes and channels to grow it. Let's hear a little bit about yourself, how you got started in this space. And this was not the space that you started in
No,
either,
not at all. Not
right?
at all.
So
You're
there's
right.
a lot there, and how that related
Yeah.
to you being able to be your own authentic self online. And that's
Mm,
something that a lot of people struggle with. Like,
yeah.
how do I be authentic? Well,
Authentic. Yeah, that's good.
right. So let's dig in.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, so first of all, let me just say for buddy, I'm Kirk Nugent. I like to say it this way: I'm a former missionary and IT executive turned content creator and live video coach. Right? There's a lot in that one little
Hmm.
sentence. I like to just kind of pack it all in there because you can tease out the other pieces. Oh, former missionary, yes. Lived in South Africa for a number of years. Oh, former IT exec, yes. CIO, CTO in both nonprofit, NGO, government, and higher ed. So
Hmm.
got a lot of experience in the tech space. But in that tech space, I got a chance to manage the media team. So the broadcast teams at these different entities and organizations where I was leading, those teams fell under me. And so, as they say, Junaid, I don't want to not understand the people who are working with me, or
Yeah.
who I am given charge to supervise. I wanted to really get in there and understand so if I asked them for a video, what did it take to create that video? And
Yeah.
that's was the starting point. That was the launch point for me into content creation. In South Africa, I managed a team of about 12 or 13, and they were tasked with creating content for a 24-hour channel, a
Mm,
full-on TV station.
yeah.
So that was interesting, and that's the time where I really started to do some things on my own. I started two
Hmm.
YouTube channels. One is the one that you know me for,
Yeah.
youtube.com/Kirk R. Nugent. And at the time I was doing fitness. I was about 30, 40 pounds heavier, and I was trying to lose that weight. So I was blogging my way through
Mm.
a 90-day challenge by Sean T. Anybody knows Sean T and
Oh,
Beachbody?
Shanti.
And
Shout out to
yeah,
Shanti.
shout out to Sean T and the Beachbody program. But I did lose the weight. I put some back on. I will say that I have put some back on since that time, but I did lose the weight. And
Hmm.
that wasn't my first foray into, posting content on YouTube regularly. And then of course, started another channel for devotionals. It was really kind of a cool project that we were able to do. So that was my origin story. It's
Yeah.
kind of how I got started in the content creator space. But wasn't until years later. Right, fast forward to the beginning of the pandemic. I'm working in higher ed, and many people don't know how hard hit higher ed was, especially those who were traditional. Right, no online. The pandemic was a collective, scratching of the head, where we're saying, okay, we actually have policies that say we don't teach these classes online.
That's insane.
And so now we have to teach them online.
Mm,
And there was so much things that was happening at the time, but it was a culmination of a number of experiences. One that we don't have time for, but I decided, finally, my wife and I had been setting up for me to step away from formal employment and do my own thing for a while, but this wasn't necessarily in that timeline, but we're accelerating that a little bit. But we definitely decided, you know what, this is going to be the time, because I could not continue to stay in the position that I was in. So I decided, leaving formal employment, getting into the content creator world full time, Going to
Yeah.
start a show, going to start doing content on YouTube, and then was going to start providing remote production services to clients. And those three things really just kind of exploded in ways that I really could not have ever planned or
Mm-hmm.
imagined. And I still feel like there's a lot of, learn it in the morning and teach it in the evening kind of things going on. But
Yeah.
it's been a great journey, and I've gotten the chance to meet phenomenal, excellent people like you and so many others who have impacted my life in many ways. So that's just a little bit of background on me.
Man, I love that. I absolutely love that origin story. And what really grabbed that at me was you started documenting your journey
Yeah,
of losing weight,
that's correct. That's
right?
correct.
That's where it all starts. Just documenting any journey. It could be like for myself, beekeeping or, starting a YouTube channel or losing weight,
Yeah,
whatever it is. It gives you an end and gives you kind of a purpose of what you're, hey, here's my purpose and here's me going through that process.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's, I'm sure you learned so much through that journey alone.
S- so much. And, so I did that journey, let's say anywhere from 6 to 8 years before I went into content creation full time. So
Yeah.
I was learning things that I didn't even know I would need, but I use all of that stuff now, so it's
Yeah.
amazing to see how things come full circle. I will also share that I'm project management certified and
Hmm.
Scrum Master, so I've got my CSM and PMP, neither of which I'm currently using in the formal sense,
Yeah.
but I am using them from the perspective of creating systems and processes for my business,
Oh my
for
God.
live streaming. All of that stuff comes back. You can see those skill sets coming back into play.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I like to say, Junaid, is that, man, there is nothing that you will learn, no skill set that you will learn that was a waste of time. If
Absolutely.
nothing else, you know how not to do something, or you know how to best do something because you've done
Hmm.
it multiple times over. I say to my mentees all the time, and collect experiences. Collect
Yeah.
experiences, even if you have to collect them from someone else like me, right? You don't have to experience everything for yourself in order
Yeah.
to
You
learn
don't
the
have
lesson,
to.
right? The wise person is going to learn from other people's mistakes, other people's experiences, but you can
Yeah.
still collect those experiences as if they were your own, especially if
Yeah.
they're people that you trust. So yeah, man, that's again a little bit more about me.
Yeah. No, no, that's fantastic. And the reason I brought it up is because I tell everybody, hey, just get started.
Yeah,
Right. No matter what it is, just get started.
yeah,
Get the body in motion. Because when you are in motion, guess what? You're going places, you're making changes, you're on the fly. You're gonna be like, okay, this is not working. How is it gonna work better? And the example that Albert Einstein, no, Thomas Alva Edison,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
He knows 6,000 ways it's not gonna work, or 10,000 ways a
It's just not
bulb
gonna
is not
work,
gonna work.
right?
But you have to have those failures and
Yeah.
those learnings. I mean, failures are not just failures; they are learnings.
Hmm.
You only learn from failures,
Well,
and
I mean,
those are
it's so interesting how you put that, because I mean, I think to a large extent, like, okay, let's just say peanut butter first example. Actually,
Mhm.
George Washington Carver was trying to make something else. So the peanut butter was the failure. You get my point. Is like,
Oh
so
yeah,
coming out of, those are learning experiences, and the person who has those experiences and can properly apply them. And I think those are the two places. And that's why I love YouTube, because you don't just learn the, step by step rudimentary, monkey type,
yeah,
do this, do this, do this, do this, and get this result. You're also learning how to apply them, how to adapt them given your
exactly.
situation, because we are human beings and have a mind.
Yeah.
So, somebody says to you, hey, Junaid, what light should I get? Your response is not going to be this light, this brand, this lumens, this,
Mm-mm.
no, you're not going to say that. You're going to ask them some questions, because
Yeah.
it really does depend
Hmm.
on all of the factors. What kind of room are you in? What are the colors
Exactly.
you're going for? Are you a black person, a white person, a Asian person, or Hispanic? Your skin
Yeah.
tone also determines that. There's so many components and factors that go
Oh my
into it. So
god.
yes, there is an answer, but the answer is dependent on the other details, and that
Yeah.
is where the human experience is so necessary, and it's so critical, because it isn't just a quick recipe like mix this stuff together and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to get this great result.
Yeah.
My recipe and your recipe are going to be completely different, and that's what's so great about online.
I
Again,
know.
same for these inventors, Washington Carver with Edison. They brought their lived experience to the table as they're looking to invent these things, so it's very much part and parcel of their story, and it wasn't necessarily quote unquote failure. It was just a part of their experience.
No, 100%. And the same thing goes with the gentleman who's trying to create the most powerful adhesive ended up with sticky notes.
There you
Like,
go. That is so
it was
good.
none of that.
That is so good. Oh my.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So, what has kept you motivated? So, you said you went full time creator mode
Mhm,
during a pandemic.
mhm.
What's keeping you motivated? You're applying so many of the learnings, so many of the things that you learned over the years into this business that you're going in. What's keeping you motivated? How do you keep going?
There's two parts. I think everybody has, internal motivation and external motivation, and the
Yeah,
internal motivation is the one that you can duplicate. That's the one you can take to the bank.
yeah,
External motivation, it's just by definition of the term, it comes and it goes.
yeah.
And so I'll start with external and just say, it is seeing lives impacted. It is seeing people get it. I love that aha moment, that light bulb, when you can see in their eyes, like, oh, and then you could do this, and then you start saying, yeah, yeah. I love that that eureka, that that whole experience that I go through with coaching clients, with people who are coming on the live show to ask Q&A and stuff like that. So I love that part, and that is absolutely external motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get that all of the time? No. And so the internal motivation is, there is value that I know I have to offer, and don't. I know what it was like to not have this information myself.
Yeah.
And I think that is the. I'm constantly trying to help people figure out what is my topic, what should I
Mm-hmm.
use, and I'm like, what is your pain points? What are the things that you were like, man, I wish I knew this.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that statement, I wish I knew X. Whatever X is probably your content. And that one is a free one for anybody who's listening to the
That's
podcast
right.
today. That's a free one. He's going to ask me about 3 things later. I'm going to give you 3 more, but that one is a
Mm-hmm.
free one. If you want to figure out what your content is, it could, I'm not saying it could possibly be rooted in the motivation to ensure that nobody else goes through what I went through. And that can be as small as, I had no idea that you can actually click a button on your phone and record the whole screen, and that could be wildly,
Yeah.
useful,
Yeah.
to something like, man, I wish I knew that I was dealing with postpartum depression after the birth of my child when I was dealing with it. And I want to show people how to understand the signs, and it's everything in between, right? It could be
Yes.
something so small, like you said, sticky notes, and something so massive like overcoming addiction. So whatever that thing is, like, I want to make sure that people like me who have the same question that I did are able to get that thing readily. And so that is the motivator for understanding the search engine optimization, and doing the different thumbnails, because I want to make sure that the person who has the question is inclined to
Yeah.
click and get the answer. That is the motivation, and that's internal, and that is, it's fueled from my lived experience. It's fueled from those passions and desires, those, cliff fall, those as they say, hills and valleys, right? Some
Yes.
victories that you've experienced, but some low lows that you've experienced, and you don't want others to go through it. That is something we've talked about before, Janaid, is like that
Yeah.
desire to see people win, to see others benefited. It is so powerful, and it's so strong, and it's something that I know is a part of that success equation for most creators.
Man. Preach there, buddy. Preach. Right? We're going to church today, bro. It's because it's true, right? You when you really dig into something as small as you mentioned, right? As small as, for example, for myself, right? Beekeeping
Yeah.
was that small thing. I was like, okay, how do I do this? Well, this is how I learned, and this is how I applied it.
Hmm.
And you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And at times it's going to be very hard. It's like, I don't want to document this. It's so
Yeah.
hard. It's so hard. Like, but there are people that found that that'll find that experience, that'll find that hardship relatable.
Mm. That I did a video where I was like, "Have you ever wanted?" This is, I mean, literally, I started the video
Yeah.
I said this, my first line is, "You figured out Ecamm and the virtual camera, and you have taken your stuff into Zoom, but you can't get the audio back." And
Mm,
I kind of outlined a couple of different scenarios where that had happened to me, and then I go into the solution. Right, that's how I formatted the video.
yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people who will comment saying, when you said this at the beginning of the video, that was me. When you said, have you ever had this happen? I was raising both hands because I was in that scenario. And those are the kinds of people you want to find.
Mm-hmm.
You want to share that information with them. Listen, even with beekeeping, right?
Yeah.
There's something that you've learned. It's like, man, but if you mix this way, you'll have this result. And people are like, oh man, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you want to go through the old school way of learning some of this stuff,
Yeah.
where you could get the cheat code? And that's what I call YouTube the cheat code.
This the
You
cheat
want
code.
to
Oh my god, you're
accelerate
right.
whatever you want to accelerate. You can accelerate it by just going on YouTube and hearing from other people's experiences, who've done it all the wrong ways, and now they can tell you this is the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And that is wildly beneficial for everybody that's watching.
I love what you said there, because one of the things that our teacher, that our instructor for beekeeping told us was like, a good beaker, a good beekeeper has a long list of don'ts.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what we have as live streamers, as
That's right.
podcasters, as creators. We have a long list of don'ts,
That's correct.
right? And that don'ts help us be in that space of, this is what you should be doing.
Hmm.
And sometimes people want to hear about the don'ts. They want to hear about what's not going to work,
Yeah,
to then relate to what actually is going to work.
that's so good. Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for the don't list, in terms of how did you put. There's a story behind each don't that's on the list. Let me say it
Yes.
that way. Like, hey, make sure you wipe off your webcam with one of these before you go live. Oh, how did you find that out? Oh, let me tell you. I did an entire live stream where nobody could see me properly because it was blur. There was a smudge, a thumbprint right on the top of
Hmm.
my laptop where that thing is.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man, that happened to me too. And that is how you create an audience.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I love that.
Yeah.
The don'ts have it.
The don'ts have
Don'ts
it.
have it.
I love it. The don'ts have it. Oh my goodness, that is so good.
And what's funny is that you've got a T-shirt on that says "Don't stop." I can't see the bottom of it
It don't stop
because
if
you're
you
scared.
because you're scared. Don't stop because you're scared. It says don't stop because you're scared. I'll get up there a little bit. Don't stop
There you
because
go.
you're scared.
I love it.
And there's a good friend of mine, Pierre Quinn, who wrote a book called Leading While Green, right? How emerging leaders ripen into established leaders.
Yeah.
It's that same concept that we're talking about. Is like, you may be called to lead before you know everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what I meant when I said earlier. I learned something in the morning and I teach it in the evening, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, sometimes not even the next week. It's literally the same
It's
day.
the same day.
So that's literally what YouTube and content creation is like at times. My sister, who is a Baltimore County public school teacher, my
Mm-hmm.
sister, who is a Baltimore County public school teacher, says to me
Yeah.
that you're basically a teacher, Kirk. You're on YouTube, but you're basically a teacher.
Yeah.
You do the same thing as me. So it's amazing. Yeah,
It is amazing, and we need a lot of teachers.
we do.
I mean, there's 1.9 billion people on YouTube consuming content,
Yeah,
right? So if you have something to teach, guess what? There are people waiting to learn from you.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
when you say there's competition, guess what? There is no such thing because there's only one Kirk Nugent, okay?
That's it.
There might be more, but there's only one Kirk Nugent who has a YouTube channel, who's talking about Ecamm, who's
That's
talking about
right.
StreamYard, who's
That's
talking about
right.
BeLive. There's no other one doing that same thing, right? So there's no competition. There's abundance
Abundance.
of people.
And that is the mindset to have, not competition.
Yeah.
It's absolutely abundance. And this is the, one of the great differentiators is going to be, are you passionate about it? Because I'll tell you what, it's not as glamorous. I get a chance to go to school systems since I have a background in higher ed. I still work with a number of K-12 schools. And you want to know what the number one declared profession is for the average 7th and 8th grader?
No.
YouTuber.
Oh, yes.
Number
Okay,
one.
yes.
Yeah. And so I try to give them a healthy dose of reality. YouTube, do not think that YouTube is the easy route. YouTube is still a job. It's still a very structured methodology. You have things you need to adhere to, right? Rules and regulations. You have a boss, which is the content monster. You got to feed it every single day, or if not every day, every week at least. So there's a whole lot to go with that as well.
You're absolutely right. And if we could have synonyms to next to YouTube, YouTuber equals teacher.
That's
YouTube
good.
equals
that's good.
Creator. YouTube equals an artist. Because no matter all of these things, you're either teaching, you're either entertaining, you're either experimenting, you're creating something that has value, and that's what you want to deliver. If
Absolutely.
you're bringing value, if you bring entertainment, if you're bringing something authentic, and I know that word is overused, but it's so needed because there are new people entering this world every single day. And there's no shortage, and there's more and more people. So once you realize that the metrics don't matter,
exactly. Yeah.
What matters is the community that you build, that the community you become part of.
I'll just say this, and then we'll move on because I know we have at least one or two other things to get to before we close it out. But I find it interesting that the Smithsonian, which most people are familiar with, what the Smithsonian is and what they do, is in conversation with Google about YouTube, right? Because YouTube is in and of itself its own archive.
Yeah,
it is its own Smithsonian.
That's true.
And so now you're at a space where if we lose some of this content, we lose historical artifacts. Seriously.
So true.
And so you're part of an entire engine when you decide to become a YouTuber. And it's just a little more than content creation. It's a little more. I mean, everybody that created content throughout the pandemic, 20 years from now, that content is going to be solid gold.
That's right. It's historical evidence of what actually happened.
Perfect. Yeah.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not think of it from that perspective, and it totally makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even just small things. I mean, like what did a cell phone used to look like? I mean, you can go on YouTube and pull up the Nokia joint that we probably both had. I mean, it's just, there's so much that time feels like it's going slow, and in other instances it feels like it's going fast. But when I think back to, like, somebody posted yesterday that 1997 was 25 years ago. I was very upset with that post because that was my freshman year of college, and I was like, what in the world? Why did you share that? Why did you share that? Like, somebody who was born into 1997 is actually 25 years old.
Yeah.
How is that possible? And so, and I'm certain that that's the similar scenario for somebody else, but this is what because and to be clear, YouTube hadn't even started in 1997.
That's right, it didn't.
So you see, it's just that much rapid change.
Yeah.
And we have to be, I guess, ahead of the curve. There's so many different things that I think
you gotta stay ahead of the curve. You gotta
absolutely
stay current, because we've already been hearing the term NFT, blockchain, Web 3.0, all of that is going to be in daily use 10, 20, 15, years from now.
Easily.
Our kids are going to be like, oh, here's $5 for blah blah blah, 5 credits,
Just
or
write credits.
just tap my
Bing.
watch over here or something. It's done.
Oh my.
And
It's
what's
it's a
cool,
whole world that's
it's a
coming,
whole
man.
new world. And what's cool is that we've seen that world
Right.
in movies.
We have. And we've seen the pattern repeated, like our parents' generation,
Yeah.
and then our generation, and what we're
Yeah.
currently experiencing in the current moment. And then we can see this thing coming around the corner. I would say that to parents who are like, oh my God, I have no idea. What am I supposed to do? I'm like, this is very much something that you need to invest in for your children's sake.
Yes.
I don't know for sure that it's going to be a massive thing for our generation, but it will definitely affect, affect the world stage
Yeah.
as we are just taking our seats, if you will. We're deciding to
Exactly.
go ahead and chill and retire. But man, some of those things are daunting, but mindset really is the perspective, those perspectives that you hold that will enable you to take advantage of any situation or be
Yeah.
afraid of any situation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Fill in the blank. Web 3.0, NFT, blockchain, Bitcoin, whatever. Fill in the blank. If
Mhm.
you see things from an opportunity standpoint, you will see opportunities here. If you see things from
100%.
this is a disadvantage, this is a problem, then you will see problems as these things come on the rise and as they become more
Yeah.
prevalent, more people start talking about them. So that mindset shift is going to be critical
It
going
is.
into the
And
future as well.
I was listening to this book the other day, and she mentioned the law of attraction.
Hmm.
What is the law of attraction? The law of attraction is whatever you think about, you're going to attract to
To
yourself.
yourself.
So you think about abundance, guess what? Abundance will be attracted to you.
Hmm.
So that's where we want to go.
Absolutely.
Think of abundance.
Absolutely,
Dude,
man.
it's been so amazing talking to you about your journey,
Yeah.
the motivations, where the world is heading, and how easy it is to create content, document our journey, and build our audience. But before we go into after we come back from the break, we're going to have Kirk share 3 hacks to take away. So we'll be right back. I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Welcome back, guys. If you have been listening, we've been talking with Kirk Nugent. He's an amazing fellow streamer, fellow creator, fellow human being, and we had the excellent opportunity to hang out back in March at Social Media Marketing World.
Absolutely.
And in fact, we're going back next year.
Right.
So
That's
please, if you're interested, drop each of us a comment on how to get a ticket to Social Media Marketing World. But take it away, Kirk. The 3 hacks to take away.
I love that. I love that you asked for 3 hacks because I have distilled down a lot of my core idea around building an audience, around success in content creation, whether you're a minister, whether you're a small business, whether you're an entrepreneur, to these 3 things. And these are 3 things you need to ask yourself for every piece of content you're putting out there, whether it's a quote meme, whether it's an audiogram, whether it is a video, whether it's a live show. It doesn't matter what it is. The number one thing is you want to answer a question. Answer a question. I want to just repeat that one more time for you because this is the biggest piece because you answering the question frames how you do the title, how you do the thumbnail, what search engine optimization, how you frame your description, answering a
Mm,
question. People are searching, and when they search in the format of how do I do this or how do I do that. They're searching in the format of a question. And so all you're doing by answering a question is you're essentially giving the algorithm all that it needs to be able to make your content successful. That's the first thing. And on the flip side of that, answering the question piece, um, it means that you are keeping in mind the person who's going to watch this content.
mm-hmm.
That has to be at paramount. It has to be at the top of your priority list, answering their question. And the easiest question to answer is the question that you have had for yourself. And we've talked about that in the show today.
Yeah.
Number two, and this is, I would say the non-sexy one, right? Answering the question is oh yeah, that's the big one. But the
Yeah.
non-sexy is just as important. And that is be consistent. Being consistent is like you've made a verbal contract with your audience. You've made a verbal contract with your followers or subscribers. Tell them what this frequency is going to be. I'm going to post every other Sunday. All
Yeah.
right. You've told them that. So post every other Sunday. That's the version of being consistent. All right. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to do a live show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Okay. Tell us what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Because consistency means here are my next 4 live shows. Because that's the accountability hack to
Oh,
being
wow. Yeah.
consistent. Here's a flyer with my next 4 guests. I do that every single month. I put out a flyer with the 4 guests, not for advertising purposes,
Yeah.
but to let my community know that there's at least 4 more shows coming at a minimum.
Mm,
That is that verbal contract you have with your audience, being consistent. That's one side of being consistent. But if you flip that thing around real quick, the other side of being consistent is we can't talk about finance today and underwater basket weaving tomorrow, right? Being consistent
yes.
means I subscribed for this. And so now when I come back and you're talking about this other thing, even though you may have wild expertise in this area, I didn't subscribe for that. I
Mm-hmm.
subscribe for this.
Yeah.
So being consistent is this two-headed monster where you're being consistent from the perspective of that verbal contract. This is the frequency, how I'm going to post, what you can expect. But then also, this is the content. This is the area of expertise that I know I have to offer where I can answer the most of your questions. So they kind of stack and build on one another. The third one, the final one, the hardest one, it's being vulnerable.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's being vulnerable. And people like to use the term authentic because authentic is something that everybody can get behind. They can support it.
Mm-hmm.
They can, you know what I mean? Authentic.
Yeah.
I'm authentic. It's like that's something you could really shout from the hilltops.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability means I don't really have it all together. Vulnerability by its very phrasing is actually negative. And so what I like to do with folks is I like to try and help them rephrase it. And so I'll ask you this question, Janaid. If you've ever been let's say in the eCam community, which is where we met,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see somebody post a question. Hey, I'm having trouble with XYZ. I need somebody to give me some assistance so I can
Yeah.
fix XYZ. This is a very common post, not just in the eCam community, but you'll find these kind of posts all over
Yeah.
social media, anywhere. And what you'll see happening is this very odd phenomena of somebody will put a dot, 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 or they'll put a star, or they'll put a finger that's pointing up,
Mm-hmm.
or they'll put following. Now, why would somebody put following on a post where the person is asking a question?
Yeah.
I've asked the question. I'm not asking you to follow. I'm
Right.
asking you for the answer to this question.
Yeah.
And the reason why they're doing that is because they know that this person has created a space for us to get the answer to this question.
Yeah.
And every person that puts the dot, 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 or the star, or the finger, or the following, they're saying, I have that question too. I'm
Yeah.
just not brave enough. So you have been brave enough to be vulnerable enough
Yeah.
to ask your question. And in so doing, guess what? You now have people following you. People think that content creation is about me having the answers and that everybody come. No, content creation is about creating a space where we can get our questions answered.
Amen.
I may not have all the answers, and I want to free somebody up out there. Like, I don't really know enough to really get on there and do something live. No, you're not the expert.
Right.
You are holding space for us to have our questions answered.
Yeah.
And being vulnerable means saying, hey, my camera fell over last week during my live show, or my kid ran into the room while I
Yeah.
was on with CNN and he had
Mhm.
on no pamper, right? So these are this is what being vulnerable is about on
Yeah.
that perspective. And then the last perspective, I know we're way over our time, Junaid, is being vulnerable from a topic standpoint. I mean, if you have a struggle with your mental health, with your body image, with OCD like I do, or
Mhm.
people pleasing, these are the topics that will blow you up.
Oh my God.
Those are the ones.
It's the
You
relatable,
thank
real stuff people like, oh, I have that problem.
I have
Thank you
that.
for
Thank
asking
you.
it.
Thank
I
you
didn't
for
have the heart, it gives them permission to, I mean,
Yep.
you're giving them permission to say, oh, okay, I'm coming and following because
Exactly.
I want to know
I want to
what's
know
the
what
answer is.
I,
Yeah.
I want to be here when the answer is given.
Yeah.
And these are the things that people want to shy away. They want to do stuff that is more technical and things that are that do not on their surface have a negative connotation. But I will tell you, the channels that are soaring, the folks who were like, I was $200,000 in debt, and right now I am totally debt free. Let me tell you how.
Yeah.
The vulnerability component of that is that they were willing to share with you that they were $200,000 in debt. 90% of the people watching your video are probably $200,000 in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's willing to say it. The vulnerability piece
So
is
true.
critical to success. And if your video, right, not just your channel, your overall strategy, I'm saying each individual piece of content, if it doesn't have a piece of vulnerability in there, you're missing an opportunity. Because that's as they say, it calls out to one another. It's like, that's what resonates with me when I like. I'm trying my best to stop talking now.
No, man, keep going. We got 6 more questions to ask you, and
oh wow,
in a form of the fun connection
okay,
ones. But
good,
yeah,
good. No, I was just gonna say, there's so many things that I follow on
Yeah.
YouTube, and it's not because this person is the best at it, but it's something that I heard, or there's something that was said, or something that was shared that I resonate with, that spoke deep to my entire being. That I was like, this guy, he cuts grass. And for me, I don't know, something mental about the lines in the grass that I just love. So I watch those videos. But this one guy in particular, he cuts grass for people who could not otherwise get their grass cut. And something about that giving spirit resonates with me. And he begins talking about, well, I made this money on this thing over here, so I'm going to actually go and see if I can find somebody. And all of that entire thing, it's him sharing from a very real and behind the veil space, right? Stuff that we don't normally hear.
Yeah.
The unpolished, that's what resonates with me. And I just want to pose that for anybody that's out there that's listening. It's like, what in the world is he talking about? Answer a question, y'all.
Yeah.
Be consistent. Both sides of consistency.
Yeah.
And if you are bold enough to put some of yourself in your content vulnerably, you're going to blow up.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I love all of that, because that is the light that I saw when I started my journey, right? I was like, oh, people want to relate. People want to, it's never going to be perfect.
No.
Right? You'll
Never gonna
get
be
there
perfect.
Eventually.
It'll get better.
It'll get better eventually.
Yeah.
It's never going to be perfect.
Perfect.
Human beings are not meant to be perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. We are born of clay, right? We're
That's
created
it.
from clay, which is not perfect.
Exactly. And to be quite honest with you, people don't resonate with perfect.
No, they don't. They don't. They'll look for the best, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't go look for what's the perfect vacuum cleaner. You look for the best one.
That's correct. Oh, so good. So good.
All right, man. So it's been so much fun, like diving in deep into that mindset of doing the hard stuff, sticking to the concept, sticking to one topic at a time. And once you grow from that topic, you can add additional planets to your solar system.
That's it.
But you got to start with one planet on
You
your
do.
solar system
You
and just
do.
keep adding to it.
That's good.
All right, let's jump into the fun.
Come on.
What is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Okay, the hobby that I wish I got into would be photography. Like really into it. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm more of a I'm not. I do some photos now, but I'm
Yeah.
not a photographer in any stretch of the
Mhm.
imagination. So I really wish I'd gotten into that. And a hobby that I wish I had stayed with would be piano. I wish I
Mm.
had stayed with piano. My mom is probably going to watch this. If I send her the link, she's going to be like, "Yes, I told you you should have stayed with
You
it."
should
I
stay.
really wish I'd stayed with piano. Yeah.
Nice. I've heard a lot of the piano things as well because it kind of gives you a there's something about a piano,
Yes.
right? It's got
Agreed.
the rhythm
Yeah.
and the beat.
The beat.
Right?
Right.
It's got the combination of
Yeah.
it. Next question. What did you want to be when you were a child?
I wanted to be an aerospace engineer.
Ooh. An
I
aerospace engineer, not just a pilot,
no.
an aerospace engineer.
I
Tell
wanted
us
to be an
more.
aerospace engineer, and I wanted to work at NASA, and I wanted to do all of the things. I didn't. I never. How do I say this now? I didn't never achieve that goals because I'm
Mhm.
not an aerospace engineer,
Mhm.
but I did do computer engineering technology in my for my bachelor's degree, and my first real job. I had a different one, but my first real job out of college was at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland. So
Dude, check that out.
it's amazing how that all came together. But yes, I wanted to be an aerospace engineer.
It's beautiful. Well, we know
And then
a
I currently
very
live in Huntsville where there's another NASA. So that's a whole nother
that's
conversation
a
for
whole
another
nother one. Oh my
time.
God. Check it out. We're close to NASA. Well, we do know a very special NASA engineer that creates some amazing content for all of us, Mark Grover.
That's right.
He's amazing.
Amazing.
And I love what
Amazing.
he says, right? He says that every video that he creates is for the people who've never seen his channel before.
Wow. That's good.
I was like, wow, okay. That's deep.
That's deep.
I can't even fathom it.
There's a lot more there
Yeah.
than the words that are being said on the surface. So
Yeah,
wow.
absolutely. All right, next one. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
I am a huge fan of The Amazing Race because I love travel. I mean, when I say huge, like
Mm-hmm.
it's probably it's not even the it's just underrated. My family and I we love travel. That's what caused us to go and live as missionaries for 5 years in South
Mm,
Africa. We've been to all kinds of places all over the globe. So I love travel, and I was able to do a lot of travel in the early part of my career and my marriage. Not so much travel these days, but
yeah,
definitely love travel. So Amazing Race, one of my favorites.
nice. I've never seen any of the Amazing Race, and I see they have 33 seasons. That's friggin' insane.
Insane. It's that good a show.
Wow. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to check it out.
absolutely. You should.
Next question is around what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Um, this is an unfair one because I did do my master's. The master's program I was working on was in cinema, religion, and worldview, and so I
Mm,
had to write a number of scripts for movies. And there's one in particular that I wrote. It was a concept that I've always had, and it's a
mhm,
that is a role I would love to play. It's it's about an insurance agency.
mhm.
Um, and so it's about coverage and
Okay.
making sure that the clients or the people are covered. And so this is a play on terms
Mhm.
because the insurance agents are angels and the clients are human beings, and the coverage is what God does for us. So um
Nice.
yeah, So the policy lapse is like, this break. Oh man, there's so many concepts that we were. So it immediately came to mind as soon as you said, what role would you want to play? I'm like, that's
Yeah.
the role I would want to play. And I know somebody's going to listen to this and be like, Kirk, you need to make that movie. I know. Trust me. I need to make that movie.
Let's make it. I'm sure we can make it happen. I've got some.
Come on, man. Let's
We're gonna
do it.
make it happen. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of producers. We know a lot of
Yeah.
creators, and my friend Ed Squire in Colorado is like he wants to do a documentary and he wanted to travel. And
Mm,
somebody told him, "Wait, you have a studio. You could probably record everything that you need to say in your studio, and then add B-roll
B-roll as you
to like
travel. Right.
because it's all in our hand, and there's so much stock footage that we can also lay
Pull
over.
from. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Awesome. All right. Next question. Who's your favorite superhero?
Um, that's an interesting one. I don't know that I have one. I guess if I were to gravitate towards one, it would be Iron Man
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't really have any other superpower but his brain.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a way, a lot of us are Iron Man.
Yeah.
I often say this in my faith-based spaces that God did not give us the power of the lion or the speed of the cheetah or the weight of the elephant. He gave us a brain.
Yeah.
And with that brain, we're able to control everything.
Amen.
So yeah.
I love it. Last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Man, that's a good one. That's a good one. I would be I'm trying to think of a lookalike, a board game lookalike that. So the reason why I'm looking for a board game lookalike is because my wife and I are actually working on a board game.
Nice. Check it out.
So
Love it.
I have no idea where that thing is gone because the logo is on one of these squares behind me.
Yeah.
But it's a prompt game, so it's called Preach That. And so you get this prompt, you turn over the card, you get the prompt, and it'll be one little concept or idea or phrase, and you've got to be able to preach that or speak that to whoever else is playing the game with you. But I love that. I love that concept and idea. We have a mock-up of it. And this is something I always say this to my followers on my channel.
Yeah.
My love language is questions. Ask me questions and I come alive. Right. So
I love that.
I love that space of, any board game that allows me to really dig deep quickly and answer a question. It's great. This is another reason why I did like a podcast tour 2 years ago. I don't know if I've ever told you about this, Junaid. 52 podcasts in 1 year.
Nice.
50 being a guest on 52 podcasts in 1 year. And why did I do that? Because the podcast host is going to ask me a question.
Oh, I love that.
Questions. Yeah, exactly. So.
This past weekend when we met, one of the people brought this deck of cards called Icebreaker Deep Talk Questions.
Yes, very similar.
And the questions were very like they immediately took you to go deep
Boom.
dive, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. And the answers were so like, yeah, it's amazing. No chit chat anymore, right? It's all deep talk. And I remember reading this book about how we have so little time on this planet Earth to be talking about nothing.
That's good.
Right?
So little time.
And
oh my goodness, that's so good.
I just saw somebody's post where they said, on tombstones, do you have the people's names? Then you have the beginning date, a dash, when their birth date, their dash, and their date of death. Guess what the dash represents?
Entire life.
Their entire life.
My God.
So that's how short our lives are. So
wow.
If you're not doing that's fulfilling you,
Get out there and do something,
Get out
man.
there and do something.
That is good.
Oh man, Kirk.
I almost feel like I need to write that one down as well. That one
Kirk,
was good.
It's because we have this conversation that we're able to go deep, right? We're able to pull this. And not only that, when we take information in from the books to read, from the posts to read, from the other people conversation that we're having, and we're able to compile that information together to form a concept, and that only comes from practice. That only comes when you really want yourself to grow.
Exactly.
And I found myself going down that path in the past 2-3 years that I've been doing the podcast and talking to people, and it's just
that's good.
It's exhilarating.
And these are the types of conversations I love. You know, they're really meaningful. They cause you to think, and you know, there's something about, of course, and you know, we're both live streamers. We love live video, and this is a form of it, or even though it's live to tape. But there's something to be said for things that are said in the moment.
Yeah.
Because of all of the things in the conversation that lead you to share this one particular thing.
Yeah.
And so you'll share things that you've never shared before in a way you've never shared it before, because it's in that moment of the thought. So I love that as well.
Quantum entanglement, man. That's what's happening here.
Quantum entanglement. I love it. Oh my.
Well, Kirk, I appreciate you, your time, your energy, your wisdom, for sharing your story, your journey. Where can my audience find you? I think I mentioned. Yeah,
KirkRNugent.com. KirkRNugent.com is our headquarters on the World Wide Web. That's where all of our stuff is. A lot of the resources that we have. That's where you can contact me as well. My YouTube channel is on there as well. So KirkRNugent.com is kind of a one-stop shop for all things Kirk Nugent. So definitely.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you again, Kirk, for coming on the show. We'll see you in the next one.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode on Hacks and Hobbies. We absolutely appreciate your contribution. You can find additional notes on hacksandhobbies.com. Please share the podcast with your friends and tell them what you learned about our guest today.